if your hands and feet go cold for no reason, if you feel tired by the middle of the afternoon, if your skin has started looking dull, or if your doctor has quietly started talking about your blood pressure or your cholesterol, stop scrolling for the next 60 seconds because what you're about to hear could genuinely change how you feel for the rest of your life. There is a leading vascular surgeon in America who published something recently that stunned me, and once you hear the number, you'll understand why. He says that up to 80% of the diseases we suffer from as we age trace back to one single, quiet problem happening inside our bodies every single day, and almost nobody is talking about it. Stay with me till the end of this video, because I'm going to show you 4 kitchen ingredients, ones you probably already own, that can help fix this problem starting today. And before we go further, I want you to do one thing for me. Right now, type the word healthy in the comments below, just so I know you're here and ready to actually use what I'm about to share. Let's get into it. Good morning, friends. I was sitting with my morning cup of tea today, doing what I do most mornings, which is reading through medical journals, and I came across an article in one of the most respected medical journals published in the United States, the American Journal of Physiology, Heart and Circulatory Physiology. The piece was written by a well-known vascular surgeon, Dr. David D. Gutterman. What he wrote stopped me mid-sip. He explained that our bodies are laced with an enormous, intricate network of blood vessels, arteries, veins, and the tiniest of capillaries, and if every single one of those vessels is functioning the way it's supposed to, we can stay away from roughly 70 to 80% of the diseases that eventually catch up with most of us. Read that again. 70 to 80%. That is not a small number. That is almost the entire disease burden that shows up as we get older, and it is connected in one way or another to how well blood is actually moving through our bodies. Here's the part that really got under my skin. Once we cross the age of 30 or 35, our blood circulation efficiency starts dropping by roughly 1% every single year. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with a warning sign on day one. It just quietly, steadily declines year after year while we go about our lives feeling more or less fine. Which means that someone who looks completely healthy on the outside, someone in their 50s, walking around, going to work, looking fit, could already have lost 20 to 25% of their original blood circulation capacity without even knowing it. 20 to 25%. That's why, as we get older, we suddenly seem to catch every illness more easily. Our joints ache more, we get tired faster, small infections take longer to heal, our skin loses its glow, our memory isn't as sharp, and most of us just chalk it up to getting old when in reality, a huge part of it comes down to this one factor, circulation. But here is the hopeful part, and this is exactly why I wanted to make this video. If we can add a few specific foods into our daily diet, foods that keep our circulation working the way it's supposed to, foods that help blood move freely and smoothly to every corner of our body, from our fingertips to our toes to our brain, we can actually push back against that decline. And even more importantly, if we can gently clear away the blockages and the stiffness that build up along the pathways our blood travels through, we give ourselves a real shot at staying far away from a huge list of chronic, difficult diseases that usually show up later in life. Hello everyone, I'm Krishnarjun Mukherjee, and what you're watching right now is an important episode of Health Caption. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through some everyday ingredients, things that are probably sitting in your kitchen cabinet or your fridge right now that, when taken correctly, even just 1 or 2 of them, mixed with a little water, can support healthy blood circulation for the rest of your life. If you commit to this, even into old age, you give your body a real fighting chance against some of the toughest, most stubborn diseases we know of. So, whether you're someone who considers themselves perfectly healthy right now, or whether you've already crossed that 50-year mark, or whether you have parents or grandparents at home who are getting on in years, this video is for you, for them, for all of you. So please, don't skip a single second of this. Watch it all the way through, with your full attention, because I promise you, by the end of it, you'll have 4 simple, practical tools you can start using today. And I want this video to matter to you. So again, drop a comment below the moment something in here resonates with you. It genuinely helps me know this information is reaching the people who need it, and it helps this video reach even more people just like you. Before we get into the actual ingredients, I want to spend a minute talking about how poor circulation actually shows up in daily life because most people don't recognize the signs until years have gone by. It rarely announces itself with something dramatic. Instead, it shows up in small, easy to depict ways. Cold hands and feet, even when the weather isn't cold at all. A kind of persistent tiredness that a good night's sleep doesn't seem to fix. Skin that looks a little duller than it used to, or takes longer to heal from small cuts and bruises. Occasional numbness or tingling in your fingers or toes. Brain fog, or that frustrating feeling of reaching for a word and not quite finding it. Muscle cramps, especially in the legs, that show up during the night or after light activity. None of these symptoms are dramatic enough on their own to send most people rushing to a doctor, and that's exactly the problem. They get brushed aside as just getting older or just being tired, when in reality, they can be some of the earliest whispers of declining circulation. If any of what I just described sounds familiar to you, I want you to comment the word yes below, because I think you're going to find the rest of this video especially useful. The reason circulation quietly declines the way it does comes down to a few overlapping factors. As we age, the walls of our blood vessels naturally lose some of their elasticity. Think of a rubber band that's been stretched and used for years, compared to a brand new one. There's also a gradual buildup of oxidative stress inside our arteries, meaning our internal wear and tear defenses slowly become less efficient at keeping up with the free radicals our bodies generate every single day. On top of that, most of us don't move our bodies nearly as much as we should, especially in the kind of desk-bound, screen-heavy lifestyle so many of us live now, and inactivity is one of the fastest ways to accelerate circulation decline. A combination of all of these factors is exactly why that 1% yearly decline we talked about earlier adds up so quickly, and exactly why doing something about it now, rather than later, makes such a meaningful difference. The encouraging news, and the entire reason I wanted to make this video, is that none of this is a one-way street. Your body is remarkably responsive to the right inputs, and blood vessels, unlike a lot of tissue in the body, actually retain quite a bit of capacity to repair and regenerate their inner lining when you give them the right support. That's exactly what each of the four ingredients we're about to go through does. They give your endothelial cells, the inner lining of your blood vessels, exactly what they need to function the way they were designed to. Let's start with the very first ingredient on today's list. It's one that's sitting in almost every single one of our kitchens right now, a humble little root we call ginger. Yes, you heard that right, ginger. It's so common, so ordinary, so cheap that most of us barely think twice about it. We toss it into our tea, we add it to our curries, and that's usually the extent of our relationship with it. But friends, if you actually understood what this root is capable of doing inside your body, you would never look at it the same way again. In fact, ginger has earned itself a nickname among researchers and doctors who study cardiovascular health. They call it a natural heart tonic. Think about what that actually means. A natural tonic for your heart sitting quietly in a bowl on your kitchen counter. Here's the science behind why. Ginger contains two extremely powerful compounds called gingerol and shogal. These two compounds work directly on something called the endothelium. This is the extremely thin, delicate inner lining of every single one of your blood vessels, your arteries, your veins, right down to your tiniest capillaries. The cells that make up this lining are called endothelial cells, and they are, frankly, one of the most underappreciated parts of your entire cardiovascular system. When these endothelial cells are healthy, your blood vessels stay flexible, elastic, and open. When they're damaged or inflamed, your vessels become stiff, narrow, far less efficient at moving blood. Gingerol and shogal work to protect and support these cells, which means your arteries and blood vessels stay supple and flexible, capable of expanding and contracting the way they're designed to, letting blood travel through your body with far less resistance. On top of that, ginger is often referred to as a natural blood thinner. Now, I want to be careful with that phrase, because it doesn't mean ginger turns your blood into water. What it actually does is help prevent your platelets, the tiny particles in your blood responsible for clotting, from clumping together unnecessarily. When platelets stick together too easily, too often you run a higher risk of dangerous clots forming inside your blood vessels, which can block circulation entirely in a particular area. And depending on where that blockage happens, the consequences can be extremely serious. Ginger helps keep your platelets from becoming overly sick, Sticky, which means your blood stays that little bit thinner, that little bit freer, flowing, able to move comfortably through your entire circulatory system without unnecessary obstruction. And there's a third mechanism, which I personally find fascinating. The endothelial cells lining your blood vessels release a gas called nitric oxide. I know that sounds strange, a gas being released inside your blood vessels, but this is a completely natural and essential process. Nitric oxide acts as what's called a vasodilator, meaning it causes your blood vessels to relax and widen. Picture a narrow 2-lane road suddenly opening up into a wide 6-lane highway. That's essentially what nitric oxide does for your arteries. Ginger stimulates the release of more nitric oxide from your endothelial cells, which means your arteries stay wider, more open, giving your blood far more room to travel through comfortably without the kind of pressure and resistance that eventually wears down your cardiovascular system. So how should you actually use ginger to get these benefits? It's remarkably simple. Take about 1 teaspoon of freshly grated ginger and add it to a glass of water. Bring it to a gentle boil for 2 to 3 minutes. Then strain it. Drink this twice a day. You can have it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, or you can have it after meals throughout the day, whichever fits better into your routine. And here's a nice bonus. Alongside supporting your circulation, this ginger-infused water also gives a noticeable boost to your digestion, so you're not just helping your heart and blood vessels, you're helping your gut work better too. 2 benefits from one simple habit. I want to share something with you that I've seen come up again and again in conversations I've had with people who've tried this. A lot of them tell me they started drinking ginger water, expecting nothing more than a little warmth on a cold morning, and within a few weeks they noticed their hands and feet weren't going cold the way they used to, even in air-conditioned rooms. That's not a coincidence. That's your peripheral circulation. The blood flow reaching the smallest, farthest parts of your body like your fingers and toes, actually improving. Your extremities are usually the very first place you'll notice a change, simply because they're the farthest points your circulatory system has to reach. Let's also clear up a common myth while we're here. Some people avoid ginger because they've heard it's too heating for the body, or that it will spike their blood pressure. In the quantities we're talking about today, 1 teaspoon, boiled into a glass of water, taken once or twice a day, this simply isn't a concern for most healthy adults. In fact, the opposite tends to be true over time, since supporting nitric oxide release generally supports healthy blood pressure rather than raising it. That said, if you're currently on blood-thinning medication, this is exactly the kind of thing worth mentioning to your doctor first, purely because ginger's natural blood-thinning properties can add to the effect of those medications. It's not a reason to avoid ginger altogether. It's simply a reason to loop your doctor in if you're already on that kind of prescription. Now, quick pause. If you're already thinking about which spices are hiding in your kitchen that might be doing you more good than you realized, drop a comment and tell me what's in your spice rack right now. I read these, and honestly, it makes my day to see how many of you are already halfway there. Let's move on to our second ingredient, and this one comes with an important warning attached, so please pay close attention here. The ingredient is cinnamon, but specifically Ceylon cinnamon. I want to explain why I'm being so specific about this because it genuinely matters. In most of our kitchens, the cinnamon we use in our everyday cooking, the one that goes into our garam masala and our spice blends, is what's called cassia cinnamon. Cassia cinnamon is fine for occasional cooking, but if you use it regularly over a long period of time as a home remedy, meaning you're consuming meaningful quantities of it on a daily or near-daily basis, you run into a problem. Cassia cinnamon contains a compound called coumarin, and coumarin in higher and more frequent doses can actually put a strain on your liver and your kidneys. So for cooking, cassia is perfectly fine in normal quantities. But for a daily home remedy meant to support your health over the long run, you need to switch to Ceylon cinnamon instead. The good news is that Ceylon cinnamon is now widely available on pretty much every major online shopping platform, so it's not hard to get your hands on it at all. Ceylon cinnamon contains a compound called cinnamaldehyde. This is an incredibly powerful antioxidant with strong medicinal properties. Cinnamaldehyde works inside your arteries to create an anti-inflammatory effect, which essentially means it helps prevent chronic, long-term inflammation from building up inside your blood vessel walls. This matters more than most people realize because a huge amount of cardiovascular damage doesn't happen suddenly. It builds up slowly, quietly, over years of low-grade inflammation that nobody notices until it becomes a real problem. Cinnamaldehyde also supports the health of your endothelial cells, keeping your arteries flexible and supple, and it helps your blood vessels dilate properly, which in turn supports healthy, controlled blood pressure. But there's something else Ceylon cinnamon does that I find particularly important. Before cholesterol actually creates a blockage inside your arteries, first has to go through a process called oxidation. Oxidized cholesterol is far more dangerous and far more likely to stick to your artery walls and start forming plaque than cholesterol that hasn't been oxidized. This is a crucial detail that a lot of people miss entirely. It's not just about how much cholesterol you have, it's about whether that cholesterol has been oxidized or not. The powerful antioxidants in Ceylon cinnamon work to interrupt this oxidation process, which significantly lowers your risk of developing atherosclerosis, the medical term for the hardening and narrowing of your arteries due to plaque buildup. And when your arteries stay free of blockages, blood can circulate through your entire body the way nature intended, without unnecessary obstruction slowing things down. Here's how to use it correctly. In the evening, before you go to bed, take a roughly 1-inch piece of Ceylon cinnamon bark and soak it in a glass of water overnight. The next morning, take that same water, cinnamon piece and all, and bring it to a gentle boil for 2 to 3 minutes. Strain it, let it cool to a comfortable warm temperature, and drink it. If this routine feels like too much effort, or if your schedule genuinely doesn't allow for it, here's an easier alternative. Whenever you're making your regular tea, whether it's in the morning or the evening, simply add a small piece of Ceylon cinnamon bark while it's boiling. You'll still get meaningful benefits this way, even if it's a slightly gentler dose than the dedicated preparation. Here's a simple way to tell the two apart when you're shopping, because the labels aren't always obvious. Ceylon cinnamon tends to come in soft, thin, multi-layered rolls that almost look like a rolled-up cigar made of many delicate layers, and it crumbles fairly easily between your fingers. Cassia cinnamon, on the other hand, usually comes as a single thick, hard-rolled bark that's much tougher to break. If what's in your kitchen right now is one solid, hard stick, there's a good chance it's cassia, and that's exactly why I'd encourage you to specifically look for Ceylon, sometimes labeled as true cinnamon. The next time you're ordering online, beyond circulation, Ceylon cinnamon has another benefit that I think is worth mentioning, especially for anyone keeping an eye on their blood sugar. Several studies have pointed to cinnamon's ability to improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your body becomes somewhat more efficient at moving glucose out of your bloodstream and into your cells where it's actually needed. And this connects right back to circulation too, because consistently high blood sugar is one of the most damaging things for the delicate endothelial lining of your blood vessels over time. So in a very real sense, supporting healthy blood sugar and supporting healthy circulation go hand in hand. Ceylon cinnamon happens to support both at once. One more practical note: don't reuse the same piece of cinnamon bark indefinitely. After boiling it a couple of times, most of the beneficial compounds have already been extracted into the water, so it's time to use a fresh piece. It's a small detail, but it makes a real difference in how much benefit you're actually getting from each cup. If you've been mixing up your cinnamon types this whole time, I want you to comment below and let me know, because you're definitely not alone, and honestly, most people have no idea there's even a difference between cassia and Ceylon cinnamon until someone points it out to them. Consider this your official heads up. Now let's talk about our third ingredient, and this one might be the most surprising of all, because it's something so ordinary, so easily overlooked, that most of us never think of it as anything more than a flavoring for our food or a squeeze in our tea. I'm talking about the humble lemon, specifically fresh lemon juice. This sour little fruit sitting in your fruit bowl right now might genuinely be one of the biggest blessings for your blood circulation and your overall cardiovascular health that you already have access to, and you probably didn't even know it. Here's why. Lemon juice is absolutely loaded with vitamin C, and when you consume that vitamin C in its raw, natural form, meaning fresh squeezed lemon juice, ideally mixed with water rather than cooked or processed, your body is able to make full use of it. This matters because vitamin C plays an essential role in your body's production of collagen, a protein that forms a huge part of the structural framework of your blood vessels. When your collagen levels are where they should be, your arteries stay healthy, stay strong, and stay flexible, which is, at this point, a theme you're probably starting to notice runs through every single one of these ingredients. Healthy, flexible arteries are the foundation of good circulation, full stop. But vitamin C, also known scientifically as ascorbic acid, does something else that's equally important. It functions as an incredibly powerful antioxidant inside your body. Every day, your blood vessels are exposed to what are called free radicals, unstable molecules that cause what's known as oxidative damage to the delicate tissues lining your arteries. Left unchecked, this oxidative damage accumulates over time and contributes significantly to the deterioration of your cardiovascular system. Vitamin C works to neutralize these free radicals before they can do lasting damage, essentially acting as a shield that protects your arteries from wear and tear at a cellular level. And research has shown something else worth knowing. Lemon juice appears to help prevent lipid, or fat, deposits from building up inside your arteries as easily as they otherwise might. So when you put all of these mechanisms together, the collagen support, the antioxidant protection, and the reduction in fat deposit buildup, it becomes clear why fresh lemon juice deserves a genuine permanent place in your daily routine if healthy circulation is something you care about. Using it couldn't be simpler. Take a glass of cold or room temperature water, squeeze in about 1 teaspoon of fresh lemon juice. You can comfortably do this 2 to 3 times throughout the day. One small caution here, though. If you know your stomach tends to be sensitive to acidity, it's worth having this after a meal rather than on a completely empty stomach, just to keep things comfortable for your digestion while you still get every bit of the benefit. What I find remarkable about lemon juice is just how underestimated it is. It doesn't get the same spotlight as trendy supplements or expensive superfoods, and yet, at gram for gram, the vitamin C content in fresh lemon juice is genuinely impressive. And unlike a lot of vitamin C supplements sitting on pharmacy shelves, it comes packaged naturally alongside other beneficial plant compounds called flavonoids, which work alongside the vitamin C to support your blood vessels even further. Nature, in this case, really does seem to know what it's doing. One thing hopeful is to be mindful of heat when it comes to lemon juice. Vitamin C is what's called a heat-sensitive nutrient, meaning it breaks down fairly quickly when exposed to high temperatures. So unlike ginger or cinnamon, which we're happy to boil, lemon juice should always be added at the very end, once your water or your tea has already cooled down to a warmer room temperature. Adding it while the water is still boiling hot will destroy a significant portion of the vitamin C before it even has a chance to help you, which somewhat defeats the purpose. I want to pause again here because I genuinely want to know, are you someone who already starts their morning with warm lemon water? Or is this something totally new to you? Either way, comment below and let me know, because your answer might just be the nudge. Someone else reading the comments needs to finally start their own healthy morning habit. Our fourth and final ingredient for today is one that health-conscious people all over the world have already made a regular part of their routine: green tea. Chances are, if you care about your health at all, you've already got a box of green tea somewhere in your kitchen, and you reach for a cup or two most days without really thinking too hard about why. But here's what most people don't fully understand about green tea, and it's worth slowing down for. Green tea contains a remarkable compound called epigallocatechin gallate, often shortened to EGCG. This is an extraordinarily powerful antioxidant, and when it comes to supporting healthy blood circulation, it genuinely deserves every bit of praise it gets. EGCG works directly on the endothelial cells lining your arteries, stimulating them to release more nitric oxide, that same vasodilating gas we talked about earlier with ginger. More nitric oxide means your arteries stay wider, more relaxed, more open, which translates directly into smoother, freer blood flow and a meaningfully reduced risk of blockages forming inside your arteries over time. But EGCG doesn't stop there. Multiple studies have shown that this compound helps lower levels of LDL cholesterol, the kind commonly referred to as bad cholesterol, as well as triglyceride levels in the body. And it's not just about lowering the existing amount of bad cholesterol circulating in your bloodstream. Remember what we talked about earlier with cinnamon. Cholesterol becomes genuinely dangerous once it undergoes oxidation because oxidized cholesterol is what actually sticks to artery walls and begins forming the plaque associated with atherosclerosis. EGCG helps interrupt that oxidation process too, meaning the cholesterol that is present in your bloodstream is less likely to turn into the kind of dangerous deposit that eventually blocks your arteries. And when your arteries stay clear, blood keeps flowing exactly the way it should throughout your entire body without interruption. You can drink green tea at pretty much any point during the day, but there's one important thing to keep in mind. Avoid drinking it first thing in the morning on a completely empty stomach. Green tea on an empty stomach can sometimes cause stomach irritation for a lot of people, so it's best enjoyed after you've had something to eat, or at least later in the morning once your stomach has settled. And here's a tip I really want you to take away from this video because it ties everything together beautifully. Remember the three ingredients we've already talked about? Ginger, Ceylon cinnamon, and lemon juice? You can actually combine all three of them with your green tea into one single powerful drink. Here's exactly how to do it. When you're boiling your water, add about 1 teaspoon of freshly grated ginger along with a small piece of Ceylon cinnamon bark and let that boil together thoroughly. Once that's done, add roughly 1 teaspoon of green tea leaves, cover the pot, and let it sit until it cools down slightly. Once it reaches a comfortable warm temperature, strain it and finally squeeze in some fresh lemon juice right at the end. And there you have it. A single drink that brings together 4 different natural ingredients, each one working through its own mechanism to support your blood circulation, and together, they can genuinely help improve your overall circulation rate over time. Before we move on, I want to answer a few questions that I know are probably already forming in your mind, because these are the exact questions people ask me most often whenever I talk about routines like this one. The first question is usually, how long before I actually notice a difference? Honestly, this varies from person to person, depending on your age, your current health, and how consistent you are. But generally speaking, most people start noticing small changes, like warmer hands and feet or slightly better energy levels, somewhere between 3 to 6 weeks of consistent daily use. Deeper changes, the kind that show up in blood pressure readings or cholesterol panels, tend to take a few months of consistent effort to become measurable. This isn't an overnight fix, and I'd be doing you a disservice if I promised you it was. The second question I get a lot is whether you need to use all 4 ingredients together, or whether picking just one is enough. My honest answer is that starting with even just one of these 4 ingredients and being consistent with it is far more valuable than trying to do all 4 perfectly for 3 days and then giving up. If you can only commit to one right now, pick the one that feels easiest to fit into your existing routine and build from there once it becomes second nature. The third question is about children or about people who are pregnant or breastfeeding. For those groups, I'd always recommend checking with a doctor before starting any concentrated herbal routine like this one, simply because dosing needs are different, and it's always better to be cautious when it comes to the health of a child or a pregnant person. Now, before we wrap up, I want to add a little more to this conversation, because food alone is only part of the picture. If you really want to protect your circulation as you get older, there are a few other daily habits worth weaving into your life alongside these 4 ingredients. Movement is enormous here. Even something as simple as a brisk 20 to 30-minute walk every day does wonders for keeping your blood vessels active and your heart pumping efficiently. Staying properly hydrated throughout the day matters too, because blood itself needs adequate water content to flow smoothly. When you're dehydrated, your blood actually thickens slightly, making your heart work harder to push it through your vessels. Getting consistent, good quality sleep gives your entire cardiovascular system the chance to repair and reset overnight. And managing chronic stress matters more than most people give it credit for, because prolonged stress keeps your blood vessels in a persistently constricted state, working against everything we've just talked about. None of these replace the 4 ingredients we've discussed today, but combined with them, they create a genuinely powerful, well-rounded approach to protecting your circulation for the long haul. If you're wondering how to actually fit all of this into a normal busy day without it feeling like a part-time job, here's how I'd suggest structuring it. In the morning, before breakfast or shortly after, have your ginger water or your combined ginger cinnamon lemon green tea drink. This sets a good tone for your circulation right at the start of the day, when your body is coming out of several hours of relative inactivity overnight. Later in the day, whenever you're already making a cup of tea, that's your easiest opportunity to slip in a small piece of Ceylon cinnamon without adding any extra steps to your routine. And whenever you're drinking a glass of plain water during the day, that's the easiest moment to add your teaspoon of lemon juice. No extra time required, just a small addition to something you're already doing. None of this needs to feel like a strict regimen. It works best when it blends naturally into habits you already have, rather than feeling like one more chore added onto an already full day. I also want to quickly mention a few common mistakes people make when they try to start something like this. The biggest one is inconsistency. Trying it for 3 or 4 days, not noticing an overnight miracle, and giving up. This isn't how the body works. The improvements we're talking about here happen gradually, over weeks and months of consistent effort, not overnight. The second common mistake is going overboard, thinking that if a little ginger or a little cinnamon is good, then a lot must be even better. That's not how it works either. Stick to the quantities we've talked about today. More is not automatically better, and with something like cassia cinnamon in particular, more can actually work against you. And the third mistake is treating these ingredients as a replacement for medical care rather than a support to it. If you're already on medication, especially blood thinners or blood pressure medication, please talk to your doctor before making major changes to your routine, since some of these ingredients, especially ginger and cinnamon, can interact with certain medications. I know this has been a long video, and I genuinely appreciate you sticking with me all the way through, because that tells me you actually care about your health and the health of the people you love. That matters to me. So here's what I want you to do right now. Before you click away to the next video, scroll down and leave a comment telling me which one of these 4 ingredients you're going to try first: ginger, Ceylon cinnamon, lemon juice, or green tea. I read every single comment, and I promise you, seeing your responses is what keeps me motivated to keep making videos like this one. If today's video gave you even one piece of information you didn't know before, please hit that like button, because it genuinely helps this video reach more people who need to hear it. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, now is the perfect moment to do it so you don't miss the next video, because I've got a lot more coming that I think you're going to find just as valuable as this one. I also want to leave you with a small story because I think it says more than any statistic could. A viewer once wrote to me describing her mother, a woman in her early 60s who had spent years complaining about cold feet, restless nights, and a heaviness in her legs that she just accepted as part of getting older. Nothing dramatic, nothing that ever sent her to the emergency room, just a quiet, everyday discomfort she had learned to live with. Her daughter started making her a simple cup of ginger and cinnamon water every morning. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive, just 5 minutes of preparation. A few months later, her mother mentioned, almost in passing, that her feet hadn't felt cold in weeks, and that she was sleeping through the night for the first time in years. That's the kind of change we're talking about here. It's rarely loud, it's rarely dramatic, but it's real, and it accumulates, one small daily habit at a time. That's really the heart of what I wanted you to take from this video today. Your circulation isn't something that only matters once something goes seriously wrong. It's working quietly in the background, every single moment of every single day, carrying oxygen and nutrients to every cell in your body and carrying waste away from them. Taking care of it isn't about chasing some dramatic transformation. It's about small, consistent, everyday choices: a cup of ginger water here, a slice of Ceylon cinnamon there, a squeeze of lemon, a cup of green tea. Choices that, stacked up over months and years, genuinely shape how you feel in your body as you age. So here's my honest ask of you. Don't just watch this video and move on to the next one in your feed. Pick one ingredient from today's video, just one, and actually try it tomorrow morning. Then come back to this video in a month and tell me in the comments how you're feeling. I mean that sincerely. I want to know. And if you found today's video genuinely useful, please take a moment to like it, because it's one of the simplest ways you can help this information reach someone else who might really need to hear it today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I put out videos exactly like this one on a regular basis, breaking down real practical health science in a way that's easy to actually use in your everyday life. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I wish you and everyone you love good health and a long, vibrant life. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.